Episode 251 of the TV Dudes podcast, recorded September 4th, 2019. In the beginning.
Are we finally going to do our biblical podcast?
We are.
Oh, good.
We're talking about only Jesus shows. What's the one where God's texting?
God is texting you.
God friended me.
God friended me?
Yes, yeah.
We're just talking about that show.
No,
I thought we were just going to talk about all the historical drama shows that get done of like the Bible and the Bible Part 2.
I thought this was all about John from Cincinnati.
Yes.
We're talking about Bible Man. Remember that one with the Charles in Charge's best buddy, Willie Ames? He went on to become Bible Man?
Yeah, and we're going to talk about, was it Growing Pains? Which one that Kirk Cameron's in? Because that's
what I was just
that's a Bible show by default now.
Yeah.
Wasn't Lost all about the Bible in the end?
Yeah, Lost is about the Bible, right?
Those numbers were just page numbers?
You guys shut your mouth. It was an idea that all religions and non-religions were the same thing.
Is that why they met up in a Unitarian basement at the end of the finale?
Yes, it does seem like that. I don't know what it was.
Unitarian Basement is definitely a punk band somewhere.
Thank you, Cleveland. We're Unitarian.
Oh, fuck. Hey, guys, we are the TV Dudes. I'm Grant.
I'm Randy.
I'm Les.
I'm Kyle.
And this week, we're going to check in on a couple shows that have come out. Dark Crystal, Carnival Row, and Righteous Gemstones. And, you know, we were going to go with something like gemstone, crystal-y themed for the title. But then we're like, oh, wait, these are all kind of like origin stories of like mythology kind of thing.
Yep.
And it makes sense to tie them all in that way.
Also, the Righteous Gemstones is about Bibles, and that's in the beginning.
In the beginning. There you go. Yeah. So, I guess let's just go ahead and dive into it. You guys want to start with Dark Crystal?
Yeah, so this is also an interesting show in that 3 different networks, 3 different shows, 3 different TV dudes have watched each show.
Yes. So, yeah, on Carnival Row, I only went through the Amazon experience. At Comic-Con, but I haven't seen any of it. Righteous Gemstones, I haven't seen any of.
I've seen the ads.
Yeah, I actually haven't even seen the ads. I just am vaguely aware of it.
So this isn't a discussion.
No, this is just TV dudes telling you about some shows. It's a lecture.
Well, we're going to start with, like I said, Dark Crystal. And what's really interesting is not only did this show just debut over on Netflix, but Les landed a hell of a fucking interview.
Yep.
With all of the writers and showrunners of this show.
Yep. So we talked to Jeff Addis and Will Matthews, who were the two. They actually brought the pitch to Netflix or to Henson. They were the showrunners and writers. They had a pitch for Labyrinth 2, or like a sequel to Labyrinth, and they weren't going to do that. Henson was like, "Yeah, we're not doing a sequel to Labyrinth, but we are in the middle of a Dark Crystal project. You want that instead?" And boom, they were writing Dark Crystal.
Interesting.
And then also
we're in the middle of a Dark Crystal project? You want it?
There's been a Dark Crystal project in development for like 10 years of some description or another, and they finally decided to make it a series and not do it as an animated. Originally, Netflix was going to do an animated series, and then they came back and were like, we'd rather do puppets. What's the budget for that? Henson put that together, and I think Louis Leterrier was already attached as the director.
Louis Leterrier, isn't he the guy who directed like the Hulk movie?
Yep.
And the Transporter?
Yes, and Now You See Me, I think.
That is a weird resume that dude's got.
He fucking loves Dark Crystal.
Oh, okay.
And apparently part of the reason it languished in development is that it is difficult to find network execs who, like, you've either never heard of this or you're in love with it.
Yeah.
And so it took until they found a network exec at Netflix who was like, oh, Dark Crystal.
Yeah, so
that's how this happened.
I've
It's
never
now the longest shoot they've ever done and crazy expensive.
I've never seen the movie, and I am not super in love with puppets. And so I went to watch this and quickly determined that – and I'm also not in love with fantasy as a genre in general. So I went to watch this, and I watched a couple episodes and quickly realized this is really beautiful, really interesting, and not at all for me.
Yeah, I love puppets and loved the original movie.
Okay.
And then this thing has castle intrigue just for days. There's a couple of incredibly creepy things in this series that I did not know were already canon. There's like YA books and stuff that had already expanded this universe. Yeah. And Henson declared everything to be canon.
That's
wow.
weird.
So they were like, yeah, we set out to write this. We had to do, like, we had all these posts we had to hit. Like,
oh, wow.
Cool, you can use these characters, but here's where they have to end up.
Oh, that's crazy.
And so, yeah, we talked to Will and Jeff. We also talked to Javi Grillo Marxwatch. Margaret Dunlap, and Vivian Lee, who are all writers and co-producers.
So please, everyone, go listen to that.
Yeah.
Go watch the show and then go listen
It is
to that.
spoilery. It is an hour-long discussion with 5 out of the 8 or 9 people that were seriously creating everything you saw on screen. Jeff was in every single day of production. Like he and Louis Leterrier are the last 2 people to leave set every day. It's an hour-long discussion of just nerdiness about making this show.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm more interested in hearing the making of that, watching the
There
actual
is
show.
also an hour-and-a-half documentary about making this show on Netflix, and I would highly recommend watching that. It's really great.
So, Les, you've presumably watched all of Age of Resistance?
I watched all 10.
And what are your thoughts?
I loved it. If you liked the original movie, there's so much world. Like part of what really made me curious about them doing this show is that the original movie is set. I mean, it was made back in the 70s or early 80s. All movies are slow as fuck compared to now. And so when you watch The Dark Crystal now, there's these long, luxuriating shots of like backgrounds and stuff, and it's just like crazy puppetry, but it's not like immediately action thrilling.
Yeah.
And like the speed of the cuts and editing and stuff, just it's different. It's an older movie. And so I was wondering how they were going to take the new series for modern audience aesthetics and move it up, and they just basically wrote like a really complex, very grown up and dark castle intrigue, and there's a huge prophecy that comes about. Like,
isn't this? I mean, in the Dark Crystal movie, from what I can tell, the Skeksis are definitely like against the Gelflings, right? That they are.
So at the end of the Dark Crystal movie, the Skeksis merge, like they merge with the mystics, their counterpart creatures, and they merge together into these unified beings called Urskeks. And as a kid, the Urskeks scared the fuck out of me. Like they're super creepy. They appear right at the end, like Indiana Jones Crystal Skull style, and then they leave the planet.
Yeah.
And then I kind of assumed that this prequel series would be what happened to split them into Skeksis and mystics. And it's not that. That's actually been told in one of the YA books, apparently. This prequel, though, is set 1,000 years prior to the movie.
And it's like the Skeksis are running. They came to this world. They're running. They're like the corrupt ruling class that is running the planet, and the Gelflings are split into all these different clans that are warring with each other, and so they don't see that this corrupt class that's running them is actually basically just abusing them and destroying their planet.
Nobody's actually laid eyes on the crystal in years, and the Skeksis have ruined it. It used to be like pure white, and now it's this wine color.
Now, of course, this is really difficult to you can't see any kind of parallels with modern politics.
Not at all. None.
I'm sorry, are you guys talking about A Bug's Life or Donald Trump? I'm not sure what's going on here.
And this show really has its heart on its sleeve in that regard. Like, they don't pull any punches. It does what I love about genre is in terms of a little bit of sugar making the medicine go down, where you can get a little bit more moralizing in fantasy or sci-fi or whatever. It's like, oh, it's not us, it's puppets. It's definitely not about us.
Yeah.
And watching Chamberlain, watching the Skeksis, Simon Pegg, Eddie Izzard, Harvey Firestein, Aquafina, the voice cast is crazy.
The voice cast is insane.
Mark Hamill's in this.
Mark Hamill's great. He's basically doing the Joker.
Yeah, and it's great. But what amazes me is that they are all doing older characters. I mean, everybody. Simon Pegg sounds like Chamberlain ought to sound. It doesn't sound like a new actor.
Yeah.
It sounds like the old voice to me.
I'm starting to think Simon Pegg may have some voice talent we didn't know about,
For real.
because his American accent in The Boys was so good.
They had originally talked about CGing some of the creatures in this. Almost everything, I'd watched the behind the scenes, almost everything in this new series has a puppet component, even when they went and touched it up slightly with CG afterwards, like smoothed the face out of hair. It's a puppet underneath it. They just green screened out and like wiped out a lot of grown people standing behind puppets, operating them like marionettes, and just wiped them out of the scene in a way they couldn't have done in the 80s. It looks just jaw dropping for what it is. It's like the first time I watched Wallace and Gromit, where I know it's claymation and I know broadly how that works, and I still can't figure out how the fuck they did Wallace and Gromit.
Yeah,
that's how a lot of this feels. Of like, Louis Leterrier operated a Steadicam on a puppet set for like the longest shoot Netflix has ever done. Every day, like the shots and stuff are crazy. I've never seen puppets done like this.
it's did it go into like Apocalypse Now territory where Louis Leterrier he was wearing a puppet skull? And
I really don't. I really don't. There actually is a Skeksis that wears a Skeksis skull, and I really I enjoyed the shit out
To
of it.
film the puppets, you must become the puppets.
I'm really hoping it takes so long to make this that they're way ahead of trying to figure out if there's going to be another season of it or anything. It was also really expensive.
Yeah.
But it is open to do. They could do more.
Well, and it's I don't know how the overall reception has been, but the people on my feed that I see on like Facebook are in love with this show.
Yeah, a lot of my friends are just in love with it, and so I'm really hoping that it goes over well. I never know on kids stuff like what's going to get.
It was definitely got that buzz going. I don't know if it's quite Stranger Things level buzz. I don't know what the viewing numbers are. My kid is watching it, and he only watches YouTube.
Yeah, they hit Comic-Con really hard, but that doesn't necessarily mean shit.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting phenomenon, even though it didn't quite grab me. It's very well done, and I am almost thinking I might watch the behind the scenes.
Yeah, I hope everybody loves it. I was really excited that they were doing it, and then was really excited to get to sit down and chat with everybody.
I'm definitely in Randy's camp of being weirded out by those puppets to the point where I'm like, I'm just uncomfortable, but everything looks gorgeous about all the scenes I've seen from it. I'm also just kind of concerned. Randy, did you say you don't like fantasy as a genre?
I don't like fantasy
I thought
as a
he'd
genre.
said that.
Yeah.
You play D&D all the time. Isn't that fantasy?
I haven't played D&D in a long time. Part of that is fantasy. I've discovered that I don't love the genre enough. Like,
So you'd rather role play in a cyberpunk? or noir?
Yeah, cyberpunk, science fiction. That's what I play these days. I don't actually play D&D. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I enjoyed Game of Thrones, and I can like a well-constructed fantasy. I love Dragon Prince.
Yeah.
But fantasy has an extra speed bump for me to get over.
You heard it here. If people like Dragon Prince, that they would love Dark Crystal. But
Yeah, I like Dragon Prince. I don't love Dark Crystal.
Is it that Game of Thrones finale? Is that why you don't like fantasy anymore?
That's it.
It's ruined so much more than a show.
You got that Dothraki
The whole
burn.
genre.
Well, let's jump over to you, Kyle, because the natural transition would be fantasy and Carnival
go
Row.
right ahead.
But Kyle,
yeah.
you watched the Righteous Gemstones.
Yeah,
on
still kind of a
HBO.
fantasy, depending on your
it's
thoughts
a
on
religion
all
and
of
it's got
this.
gems. It's like Dark Crystal.
Yeah. This is Danny McBride, and what's the other guy? What's
Jody
the long
Hill.
hair? Jody Hill, yeah. And essentially this is revolves around this main character, this Eli Gemstone, who's one of these bizarre, ultra-wealthy televangelists.
Their last name is Gemstone?
Their last name is
Oh,
Gemstone.
boy. Okay.
Yeah, and they have been doing since like the 80s this like 400 Club style,
700 Club.
telebroadcast.
800 Club.
800 Club?
700 Club.
You guys are 300 off and 100 off. 700.
Oh,
Is it 400?
Price is Right rules. Did I win?
All right, the 1700 Club.
Became ABC Family.
But no, this show, honestly, I got to give it props for the opening scene in the first episode. I feel like delivers the entire thesis of what they're trying to do. And what it is it's the three main characters, Danny McBride, Adam Levine,
Adam
Devine.
Adam Levine was from Maroon 5, and I would 100% watch that.
I totally get those two mixed up. And then John Goodman, and they are at the back of this giant-ass wave pool in China. And what they are doing is a 24-hour baptism-thon, where they're just baptizing all of like these Chinese, to like get some world record or something. And through the course of this, an argument ensues, and inevitably somebody accidentally turns on the waves to this wave pool. And that just goes insane. And that is every second of this show. It's like they take this idea of this family that's trying to be, we're doing God's work and we're so great, but we're also insanely wealthy. We're going to leave the airport in like armor-plated Hummers to go back to our giant compound where we all have mansions on the compound. And yeah, it's insane. And you find out really quick, like, everybody in this family has got their own skeletons. Danny McBride, he's obviously the worst. He's got, like, people extorting him. Adam Devine comes home to his house. It's full of arcade games. There's no lady there. But he does have his best friend there who you see has like a half lasered off tattoo on his chest of a big 666. And they get into this whole thing of like, is it kind of weird that I'm like a former devil worshiper? And he's like, no, you're a success story around here, man. Everybody loves you. And he's got these tattoos. Oh my God. The devil worshiping best friend who maybe more than a friend. We'll find out later. He's probably one of my favorite characters. There's also a sister who's kind of a really funny little side story. She's kind of the why am I blanking on her name on Sunny? D.
Sweet D.
Yeah, she's kind of the sweet D of the group. And she's got a fiance, and there's this really funny bit about how he's sleeping at the house, but you can't be moving in before marriage. So they think they're hiding it, but they're not really hiding it. Anyway,
So wait, is there a degree of sincerity? It's not like they're running this whole operation and it's clearly a ruse to all of them. They're operating this with some degree of sincerity that they do have this belief in this higher power, and they're not extorting and exploiting people.
So here's what's great about it: the 90% of the characters, have no sincerity whatsoever. It's very clear. I mean, publicly they do. But what's really great about this show is John Goodman's character, Eli Gemstone, the head of the family. He seems legit right now. Did any of you guys watch The Young Pope with Jude? What's
Jude
his name?
Law.
Jude Law. There was this really creepy thing about how you never saw Jude Law do anything bad. He was always working behind the scenes, and you kind of get to the end of the show and you're like, whoa, is he actually this really holy person, whatever? So they've set it up now to where you're like, I mean, is John Goodman actually, this great? I think what we're going to find is he probably has some skeletons in his closet. But all this to say, at the end of the first episode, they take a turn. And the show actually turns into some Fargo-esque true crime type stuff. Where it's one action, just domino effect. And every episode, it just keeps kind of building on itself. Where you could say that the whole family is kind of in flux, but again, it's Danny McBride, so there is a bit of that. I can only take this so seriously, but I got to say the true crime stuff is at least really interesting. They've built in a couple twists within the first 3 episodes, and then episode 3 ends with oh my god, there's a great scene where John Goodman pulls out a gold-plated Glock. And these guys who are busting up I'm totally spoiling this, but these guys are busting up his church. He's just give me your clothes. And he makes them all strip down naked. And you just see all of the HBO wiener glory, 10 wieners running across the street.
Not enough euphoria.
Yeah. But no, this is, I mean, if you're a fan of this type of stuff, if you like Eastbound and Down, if you like, the movie Danny McBride's in, you're probably going to really dig this. If you are a fan of Bill Maher or the religious documentary, or you like when people poke fun at religion, I think that's what the show does the best. Kind of these characters who think they're doing good. But
Randy, you're going to love it because you don't like organized religion.
I don't like organized religion.
You
but
only
I
like
also,
disorganized religion.
I also don't like Danny McBride.
He
So
loves him.
my two dislikes are going to war as if they were Terriers versus The Wire.
Indeed.
That's a reference to last episode.
No, the true crime twist makes me a little more interested in watching it, and I'm sure I'll give an episode a shot for John.
Well, no,
Goodman.
there's 3 of them, and each episode has had kind of a turn in it where it's oh damn, this shit is.
I also
shit
just want
got
to see
real.
people turn a wave pool on a mass baptism. That would be
Holy
fucking
shit! Yeah, if you
hysterical.
watch nothing else, the first 5 minutes of this, and it's in all the promos too, so I'm not really spoiling anything, but it's just so funny to watch.
Yeah, that part sounds hilarious. Yeah, I'm definitely interested to check that one out. But Randy,
Yeah.
you're watching here's the
Carnival
thing.
Row.
You're watching a show called Carnival Row, and
Yeah.
I've actually heard a lot of people be interested in this. But
Yeah.
what I've seen is this is some steampunk-esque fairies existing in the real world thing.
I keep hearing
and
it's really slow.
It's got Cara
So let me
and Orlando Bloom.
let me sell this show to you. This show that I've
Okay.
seen 5.
It's got Jared Harris. That's
I've
the only
seen-
thing that would sell it.
I've seen 5 of 8 episodes. It's on Amazon Prime, so that's great. Its 2 leads are Cara Delevingne, whatever how you pronounce that name,
you did great with that.
and Orlando Bloom, both of whom are very pretty charisma vacuums.
I think it's Blum.
Pretty
It's-
yet so vapid.
It's about Victorian era fake London with fairies in it.
okay.
And this is one of the most boring goddamn shows I've ever watched. I watched 5 episodes waiting for it to get better, and it's just interesting enough in the world building to keep me watching. But I'm so angry at them for making this show.
I love that you don't like fantasy and we stuck you watching this.
I mean, here's the thing. I saw a trailer for it, and I'm like, oh, it looks really like the production values are astounding. Like the fairy effects and all that, the sets, it looks great. The notion of a mashup of sort of Victorian London, by the way, I hate period pieces too, so this is double hatred for me as far as the genre go. But like this fake ass Victorian thing with fairies is not
The
like
Critches are all super second class citizens.
yeah, and they're doing a very naked like immigrants are being mistreated kind of thing. There's somebody killing the Fae, and it's a Spring Heel Jack type guy. It's all very obvious. It's all hooked around this doomed romance between the ex-military cop played by Orlando Bloom and the ex-military Fae played by Cara Delevingne. Remember?
Yep. Yeah.
And I don't care about any of it.
You may remember
There's also
her.
the Dark Aster thing, that whatever's supposed
Yeah,
to happen.
there's some kind of fairy god that might be coming about.
See, like they really keep pushing Cara Delevingne
Yeah.
on us from Suicide Squad
Yep.
and Valerian,
Yeah.
and she's proven herself to me to be not good.
Oh, she's a great match for Orlando Bloom, though.
Who's also not good.
Because Orlando Bloom is
Except as Legolas, he was great as Legolas.
that one episode of Love. Is it Love?
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah, that was a
Yeah. It was easy.
easy. Yeah.
Yeah. There are people for whom this show is made. I am not one of them. In fact, I am two of them who are
People
whom
waiting
it's
for
not made.
Outlander to start again.
Yes, very much so. I have friends who adored this show. They're so into it. They're like, you're going to love it. They are so wrong. I did not love it.
Here's how much Randy didn't love it. Before he started watching this, he loved period pieces and fantasy. Loved those two genres.
I did not.
Get a
And now-
thick mane of hair.
It's broken, yeah.
All gone. You broke him. You broke him. I hope you're happy, Bloom.
So,
Blum. Sorry.
Can I ask some questions about the show?
Absolutely.
All right. So Amazon.
Yep.
We see any nudity?
Yes, there are fairy boobs everywhere.
Fairy boobs. Okay.
Yeah.
Second question.
Yes.
Just the two boobs.
Based off of what you've seen thus far,
Yeah.
does the size of the fairy affect how they fly? AKA, we got any fat fairies?
No, they're all live.
Damn.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I don't have a third question. Pretty fairies.
No follow-ups.
No, but this show does seem like one of those things where
Is there nudity? Are there fat fairies? I have no follow-ups.
all my remaining questions are about fat fairies.
I really want to see like a,
of his list of questions.
There's 100 more questions on the list.
I am
They're
thinking
all
that
about fat fairies.
that period piece London with like leprosy and like older gross diseases and stuff. It would be very bad to have a flying class of poor
Yeah.
in London.
No, there
And,
is-
like
Disease everywhere.
right, like what the fuck just dropped on me?
Exactly.
There is one.
Sorry, governor.
There is one interesting scene. Oh, the fairies aren't allowed to fly either. If they fly, the policemen are like, "Look at that! There's a guy up there. Let's get him."
I saw something in one of the commercials where they had like a barbed wire net to fuck with them.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I was like, okay, stuff like that. The show could be really wild, but
So the best scene I've seen is it's one of the flashbacks to how, or it's during the military, during the war. There's two worlds. There's the Pact and the Burg, and they were warring on the Fae realm in sort of a Vietnam style thing, and then the Burg pulled out, and the Pact overran them. And so the Fae have all come to the Burg because that was where they had their allies. So there's a flashback to how Cara Delevingne met Orlando Bloom, and in that flashback, the fairies are sent. They have like these Molotov cocktails, and they're flying up. There are these packed airships coming in. They're guys in like full-on World War I looking gas masks, and they've got those hand-cranked Gatling guns. And so the fairies are flying up, trying to throw Molotov cocktails at these zeppelins, while the packed gunners are like hand cranking, shooting them out of the air. And that was cool as hell.
Nice.
That is like 2 minutes of the show.
That would make a really great, like Renaissance type painting?
Yeah, yeah.
Like a Gothic painting or something?
Yeah, if you were to put that on the cover of a Dragon magazine circa 1989, I'd buy that magazine.
Yeah.
Or a Rush cover, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. But yeah, beyond that sort of one cool kind of moment, it's and like I say, it's all very pretty.
You know what it looks like to me?
What's that?
Like, it does look pretty, and the CG looks awesome.
Yeah.
I think, like, the whole world that they're trying to create, like, the art direction of it, like, it's going to look good, but a lot of these props and the sets and stuff,
Yeah.
it just seems like there's some studio over in London where they just have this stuff. And it's like they just take turns making
just
shows
Diagon
with
Alley.
it.
They were like, we've got the remnants of Sherlock Holmes 1 and 2,
Peaky Blinders,
and a few fairy. We got some fairy costumes from our production of Shakespeare, one of those Shakespeare things. What do you guys want? You want to put a show together out of that?
A lot of people don't know that actually 20% of London is just sets now
Yeah,
from various things. It just looked London-y.
yeah, but
They
Vancouver
just left it up.
Vancouver
Like,
is 90% sets,
Right?
Yeah.
and the other 10% is poutine shops.
yeah, ironically, all of those sets are New York.
Y'all ready to answer some listener questions?
Are they about
get
fat
lit.
fairies? Because I've already covered
more
everything I have to say.
Dennis McElwain says, The Handmaid's Tale is in a rut. What TV shows look like they are about to get in a rut? See you next month if I'm not too drunk. Oh, I think he'll
It's
be
Fantastic
here.
Fest, yeah.
Fantastic Fest.
Nice.
Awesome. Yeah, I feel like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s been in a rut for about like 6 seasons,
Let's
7 seasons.
Let's watch the entire season 6 of it and see what we think.
No.
I can never tell when things are going to go into a rut. I really, really wish I could.
You know what's interesting? Dear White People season 3. I love the first 2 seasons, and I tried watching and couldn't watch season 3. And I think it might be the rut problem. It might also be that they've overcomplicated everybody's backstory, and I'm like, I don't know who anybody is anymore.
I've had shows where, for whatever reason, it came back around after its break to a new season, and I just wasn't in a spot where I give a fuck about watching it anymore.
Yeah.
And then I'll go back a few years later and watch whatever season it was where
Yeah.
I'm telling myself, oh, it's because that season went to shit and I turned off. Nothing wrong with that season. Just for whatever reason, my life wasn't where I wanted to watch
Yeah.
the 5th season of whatever.
That's
I wanted
that's what's happened to me. It's not that the show. I'm not necessarily sure the show is a problem, but I had that reaction to Dear White People, which I loved, and Orange is the New Black's final season. I tried, and I'm just like, I don't care.
I'm going to watch it because I know all these characters.
Yeah,
at this
sure.
point, and I want to finish it out. But yeah, I'm not in a spot where I want to watch Orange is the New Black right
yeah.
now.
So I'm in a rut. I don't know if they're in a rut.
There we go.
Oh. Wow, this is therapy.
Plot twist.
Mike Moody says, you like a chair?
I like a
I
chair.
do like a chair.
All right, well, let's just move on from that weird-ass question. Zach McLernan says, the TV dudes are transported to the world of the Mandalorian as a group of bounty hunters.
Oh yeah, I want to be a bounty hunter.
You go to get your first assignment from Carl Weathers, a.k.a. Grieve Karga, and you have to choose from Domian Rindelroth wanted to make high-concept space TV that ultimately is pointless and doesn't pay off, for 3 million alive, 2 million dead, or Frob Schneider, who's wanted for being a space vaccine denier and supporter of the Emperor and, to boot, making bad pandering space TV, for 10,000 dead. All right, wait, who's the first one? Domian Rindelroth.
Do you really not know who that is?
Fuck, now I get it. My Damon Lindelof. Pointless and doesn't pay off. I hate this question now. I don't want to read the rest of it. For 3 million alive and 2 million dead, or Frob Schneider, sorry, for 10,000 dead. If you fail or back out, the Mandalorian is coming after you. Oh shit. You have no special powers. Schneider has an army of assassin robots, and you
Why?
only have a regular laser gun.
Why did you give him an army of assassin robots?
Who do you choose? Also, side note, congrats on 250 episodes. Love you guys. Keep it up.
I mean, I'm going to face down that army. I'm getting Schraub Schneider.
No, we're going to figure this out. Yeah. No, yeah.
I just want to be able to say, hi, Carl Weathers. Here's Rob Schneider's head. Could I have my money, please?
If my epitaph reads, died trying to kill Frob Schneider, I can accept that.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
I imagine Rob Schneider as like half Rob Schneider, half like mechanized machine with like Darth Vader parts.
All I'm saying is that Real Frob was a terrible show.
Kind of, yeah.
And we only have to pay $10,000 to get the chance to kill him?
Yeah, I can probably work up 10,000
If
credits.
I'm understanding this right, I think we just got to put the money together, and it's
Yeah, totally.
we get to go ahead
the
and try and kill
safari
him.
is ours.
Yeah, we could probably do that. Yeah.
Or we can get paid to kill one of the greatest auteurs of all time.
Wait,
Why would we do that?
Why you wouldn't do the thing where like you get Lindelof there, you got the gun to his head, and then you're just like, why do they want you dead?
I don't know if he's really an auteur. He's
I have the gun to his head and be like, can I write the next season with you? Can it be in your writer's room? I have good ideas.
Let me make you a deal. Your life for a job.
And then he would reveal that you'd been writing it for a season now.
Here's how we're gonna save Lost. I have some ideas. Charles Armstrong says, with the third and final season of The Deuce premiering soon, where would you like to see David Simon focus his interests next? Something more contemporary or delve into the past?
I think I would like to see David Simon tackle journalism at its height somewhere, whether it's Vietnam era or like that guy was a journalist, and that's not something that works anymore. But I would love to see him.
That's the thing. I'd like to see him tackle journalism now.
Really?
Like, show me whatever David Simon thinks the peak of journalism is right now. And
Show
how
me
that-
a journalistic hero.
Yes, actually, I want to see a fucking journalistic hero, and Simon might be the only one right now in 2019 that can imagine me one.
Okay, no lie. I was going to say this before you guys said that.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be awesome if he did Howard Stern. Like a dramatization, of course, but like a Howard Stern biopic type thing.
Like Private Parts.
But they already did that.
Well, but like take it seriously. Like that's the thing. I don't know. I feel like Private Parts.
Oh, yeah, it was
and
silly.
Then Howard Stern, like in general, can be kind of silly,
Yeah.
but he's also like really serious, and he does like some really provocative but like insightful stuff with his interviews.
I'd like to see David Simon's The Newsroom. basically.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to see. Or something about space fantasy mercenaries.
I just want him to do a show about how he attacks people on Twitter.
Yeah, mostly I just want him to attack people on Twitter.
Yeah, I'm good with that too.
He's got a job right now, guys. It pays in upvotes and likes. Alec Miracle says, hey guys, are you ready?
Definitely not.
Y'all ready for this?
Is that what that is?
I'm not ready either.
Wait, does
Are
he
you
mean-
ready to like chair? I'm not sure what he means.
Well, because there was some big TV news. These two big television stars, Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, they've teamed up to make some type of it's called a film.
Film?
It's like they show them on TV eventually, but
Flim?
it's kind of like TV, but not on TV.
Oh,
Anyways, it's called Bad Boys for Life.
Bad boys.
Have you guys seen this yet?
Yes.
What you
yes.
want?
Holy shit, it's so good.
I'm not ready for that.
I'm ready for it.
Daniel Uvaldo's got our last question. He says, why don't y'all promote your channel on doubletoasted.com? They have lots of topics that could use the occasional expertise of the TV dudes. Just don't mention Game of Thrones. I don't know.
They never asked us.
Yeah, tell them to send us an invite. I don't know.
Tell them to send a raven.
It's kind of an interesting question. Like
Raven.
when he says like promote ourselves on their site, does he mean like sit in on shows with a sign in the background that's like, hey, come over to our
Or
site?
jump into their recording and yelling Baba Booey.
You've popped on occasionally, or you've been you've gone to some shows, right?
Yeah, actually, I've only been to like recordings at Corey's house. I've never been to like I've been to the studio before, but I always go with you, and then they put you on mic because you're better than
I
me.
thought if we went to another studio
On
that we
mic,
would
on
die.
mic, not in life.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was my understanding that at least
Yeah.
Mike would kill us.
Yeah, I thought if we stepped foot in another studio that we would explode.
I
Yeah, is
signed
it like
that
a
thing.
Coke
Did y'all not
Pepsi
sign
thing?
the thing?
Yeah, is that not a thing?
Yeah, when Mike says you like chair, he means you like a chair across your back if you step out on
Yes.
me.
He
means you like a stain in that chair, motherfucker.
No, so it's Mike. It's Mike Moody's threats that are why.
Yeah. Mike is a scary, scary man.
fucking mob boss.
Pimp life.
6'8". It's crazy.
Guys, that's it. That's our episode for today here in this wonderful studio. And
Which
Mike,
we all love and would never abandon for another studio.
no, Mike, we would not.
So go watch Dark Crystal.
TV Dudes out. The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/tvdudes. You can like us on Facebook and Twitter at TV Dudes. All the music for our show is by our friend and original TV dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith. To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com. I'm Grant Davis. Thanks for listening.